In theory lessons 1 to 6, we started to look at the notes of the piano and their relationship to one another in terms of how they sound, how they are grouped together in scales, and how those notes are represented on our score and the spaces and lines of the treble and bass clef. To briefly review, we noticed several things. On the piano, as we moved to the right, the sounds went higher, and as we moved to the left, they went lower. On the score, as we moved higher through the lines and spaces, the notes went higher, and as we went down lower, they went lower as well. The space that separates the two clefs, the treble clef above and the bass clef below, had a special note in it, middle C, which on the piano helped to separate the upper notes of the piano from the lower notes of the piano. And finally, the black keys were just as important as the white keys in part, because without them we could only play in the key of C, and none of the other key signatures that give our music tonal variety. So when we think of sound in that way, in a sense, we're thinking of music as representing the division of pitch or the division of sound. There's another division too, and that is known to all of you who love to dance or do gymnastics or figure skating, and it is the division of time. And that applies to how long we hold each note and how long we remain silent in between them for our rests. You can imagine just how boring our songs and pieces would be if we only had one type of note that told us that we had to hold that note for the same length of time as all other notes. It would sound like I was talking in unbroken sentences with each syllable of each word going on and on after others until you finally fell asleep. It would drive you and everyone else completely mad because it would get very, very boring very, very quickly. With music, each different note, as you can see here, and each different rest will be held for a different amount of time or a different fraction of time. Now, for those of you who have not studied fractions yet in math, you can think of it this way. Imagine the teachers having a PD day, and so you and your friends are all at each of your homes having a long weekend. Your parents ask if you'd like to have a friend over and have a special treat, a whole pizza between the two of you. You call Emily, and her parents say, yeah, for sure. And within minutes, there she is. Your folks call up Sammy's or Jerry's, and they speak to Sahar or Ida, and they order an extra large pizza, but they say to them, don't cut it up. We'll do that for them. So, when Emily arrives, she's thinking that she's going to have a massive piece of pizza, half the pizza, and so are you. But word gets out, and no sooner have you guys started to think about that pizza, which hasn't arrived yet, but you get a phone call from Peter and Sarah, wondering if they could come over too. Now there are 4 of you. So instead of you and Emily getting half the pizza each, you have to take your piece and cut it in half, and Emily has to take her piece and cut it in half, and give 1 piece to Sarah and 1 piece to Peter. Now, no sooner the 4 of you thinking, that's going to be pretty cool, when, again, word spreads to other people, and 4 more friends call you and your parents to find out whether or not they can come over. And now there are 8. So, you, Emily, Sarah, and Peter have to cut your pieces in half in order to give 1 piece to Maya, Ezra, Amelia, and Silas. Now, those pieces are getting smaller and smaller. They still look pretty good. But then finally, another 8 friends show up, and what happens? All of the 8 of you have to cut your pieces once more in half, and you end up getting a regular piece, because Asher, Emma, Adeline, Levi, Arabella, Atticus, Penelope, and Ava have all arrived. Music and notes are the same way, and we measure them in beats, like snapping your fingers or tapping your foot to the beat of a song. Now you're probably wondering, how much time and does each note and each rest in the chart that we saw at the very beginning, right here, get? Well, to answer that, we have to understand 2 other new words for today. That is, measures, or bars, and time signatures. And that'll be something that we discuss in the next part of our theory lesson number 7.